Good day or evening. I hope all is well with you. Welcome to Filling Your Soul, living with meaning and purpose through the wisdom of the Kabbalah. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Tracy Ochester. Tracy is a licensed psychologist in private practice in Kansas City, a certified mindfulness-based cognitive therapy teacher, and a registered yoga teacher. She also serves as the Heart-Mind Coordinator for the Midwest Alliance for Mindfulness, a non-sectarian organization promoting the practice of mindfulness in the heartland. Her journey into mindfulness was inspired by her desire to help clients reduce their suffering. She learned firsthand through personal practice its beneficial effects on well-being. Ashtanga yoga has been a doorway for her into greater mindfulness and self-compassion, making the stillness of sitting meditation more accessible. Tracy believes that we are best able to alleviate the suffering of others when we attend to our own, and she takes great joy in sharing the gift of mindfulness with others. Welcome, Tracy.
Thanks, Leah. It's good to be with you today.
It's my pleasure, and I'm thrilled that you can be here. You're such a busy lady.
Well, you too.
Okay. I wanted to ask for the first question, Tracy. In the Kabbalistic teachings, living a meaningful and purposeful life is a key concept. Can you please share your thoughts about living with meaning and purpose, and also your personal journey that has led you to its fulfillment?
Sure. Well, I know from listening to your wonderful podcasts that, words are so important and also can mean different things to different people. So I thought I'd start off by talking about sort of a more general view and then talking a little bit about my own kind of nuanced view of meaning and purpose.
Sounds great.
So I think meaning in a more general way is a sort of scaffolding that we build our lives upon. So it's the storyline or the backdrop that informs our intentions and drives our thoughts and actions. And our choices and their consequences can ripple out from these thoughts and actions. And so their meaning is really powerful. But we have to realize that meaning in and of itself is neither good nor bad. It depends on the particular storyline we choose. And the meaning that we create for ourselves can be both harmful and helpful, depending on the actions we take that comes out of the meaning. Also, there's a lot of pressure for us to find meaning in our lives. We have this sense that there's this larger meaning out there and we just have to go out there and find it somehow. But I think for some people, this can cause a certain amount of anxiety because, ultimately we can't really know for sure. And so we have to do our best to make sense of things. And I think it's really an act of courage if somebody can acknowledge that maybe they don't know what the meaning of it all is. And I think you can still live quite well, even if you're not sure what the underlying meaning of things is. But then when we move to purpose, I see purpose as the way we sort of fit ourselves into this greater scaffolding of meaning. And I like to use the word intention instead of purpose because I think sometimes purpose implies that there's some sort of end goal, there's some sort of outcome that's going to happen. And we just don't always have so much control over the outcome of things.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so intention is, our guide, but we can let go of the idea that perhaps some kind of outcome is necessary in order for us to have a sense of purpose in our lives. We can acknowledge the limit of our control when we think of it more as an intention.
So you're saying, just going back to when you began, you said that meaningfulness can be positive and it can be negative too. Could you please just clarify that a little bit more?
Sure. Sometimes the meaning that we give to life encourages us to act in a way that's helpful or useful. And sometimes the meaning we give to life can actually cause us to respond in a way that's not so helpful or even harmful. For example, there have been, so many different philosophies out there throughout the ages about what life's meaning is. And we think about one meaning might be that to seek pleasure at all costs, right? That life is all about experiencing as much pleasure as possible. And so while this might create some enjoyable experiences, may also create some unintended consequences for us by overindulging or by not considering the costs to others around us or to the environment. And so maybe this helps clarify a little bit how the meaning that we give to life, just because we have a sense of meaning doesn't mean it's going to guide us in a way that's useful or helpful.
Right, and that kind of boils down to our values.
Yes,
yeah.
That's right. So part of the way that we determine our meaning in life is this storyline that comes together through all kinds of influences. Maybe even things from before we were born, generations and culture, where we live, who we're around, the resources we have. All these things contribute to the meaning that we give to our lives. And it requires a certain amount of privilege, I think, to even have the time and space to think deeply about life's meaning. There are many in the world that are just dealing with day-to-day survival, and the idea of meaning may not be first and foremost on their minds.
So very true.
So an interesting thing, though, about intention and purpose is they both involve holding something in mind. And as you know, a practice that I hold dearly is mindfulness. So when we have an intention or a sense of purpose, we're actively holding something in mind as we think and feel and act. And so when we're mindful, we're more likely to respond in line with our values, in line with our heartfelt intentions.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. For example, something that gives me a sense of purpose in my life is, being a caregiver, being a psychologist. And so I'm often in the back of my mind is a priority of the well-being of the people that I work with. And this guides my actions. Placing a priority on others' well-being guides my actions with them.
Yes, it's because it's not self-serving. It's to serve other people, to help them, and do what's best for them.
That's right. When I'm working with people, that's my purpose, and that's the sort of storyline that's playing in the background as I think and feel and act.
Oh, thank you for that example. So, Tracy, without getting into too much detail, your personal journey, how did that lead you? Using these principles, how did it lead you to the fulfillment of living with purpose and having meaning in your life?
I think it was probably pretty similar to a lot of people's journey, kind of floundering around a lot as a young person, not really knowing what my meaning and purpose were, and searching, wandering, and, through my own interests and skills, beginning to discover psychology and determining that that's the line of work that I wanted to be involved in, and really resonating with that sense of being of service to others, and that giving me a sense of purpose. And then over time, understanding that, I am not ultimately in charge of how my actions play out in others' lives. And this is where I move into this idea of intention, that I can work and act with intention, but holding loosely to the idea that some particular change is going to come about.
And that certainly takes off the pressure and the burden to you by knowing that if your intention is pure and you want to help, you just let it unfold.
That's right. I think that many providers can become burnt out when they hold tightly to this idea of outcomes. And there's a lot of pressure on providers, not just mental health providers, but all kinds of providers, to be accountable for outcomes. And I just think a lot of times we're much less in control of that than we'd like to think we are.
And you're probably better as a healer and a psychologist to other people because you have that attitude. That's great. And
I hope so.
it's good for all of us to hear. Thank you, Tracy. So what tips, and thank you for sharing your experience about this. What tips can you offer to listeners that can teach and inspire them to connect to their passion or what they love? And like you said before, maybe even have skills regarding what they love. So connect to their passion and live their dreams.
Yeah, so I think my point of view is, being really open to experience all kinds of experience. Passion is another of those words that can be a little tricky because it really is an intense sort of driving emotion, a visceral kind of emotion. And it often isn't really examined. We place a lot of value on being passionate and having passion, but passion can be pretty short-lived, and it can cause us to regard certain things as more worthy of our attention than others. And I think another way to look at it is to be really open, to be willing to approach lots of different circumstances with less judgment, and also to be aware of what's happening inside you as you encounter different circumstances.
Right. So it's again that attitude of being open, being flexible to anything that can happen, so that you're not uptight. And then when you're not uptight, you're using your brain power. You're using all of your skills.
Yeah, and I also think that sometimes it might serve us better to follow our compassion rather than our passion. Having an awareness of the suffering in the world and having a desire to alleviate it, this can be a driving force for us.
Yes.
And compassion, includes everything. It excludes nothing.
Yeah, that is. Thank you for mentioning that. And I've often thought, I think I should change that word passion. But no matter what work a person is in, or even if they're just walking into a store and talking to anybody in the store, that's what life's about.
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons, even in the little mundane experiences of life.
Yes, right. So if we can be uplifting towards others, it uplifts ourselves, and it just makes us merge more with the world, with the society.
It allows us to be with what's here, and when we're able to be with what's here, we can make better choices about how to respond.
Okay, so when people want to go forward and live with meaning and purpose and perhaps fulfill their dreams, you're saying the main thing is their intent, and that they be compassionate, and things will come forward because they have this wonderful intention.
And there'll be this clarity when we're open to experience, maybe a little bit free of storylines, free of biases. There's more clarity in the path that's ahead of us.
Yes, and it drops all the baggage and the preconceived notions of what we're supposed to be, perhaps our fantasies, whatever it is, that are not really part of reality, what will be.
Yeah, and we might actually discover some surprises.
Yes, right. Pleasant surprises, hopefully. All right. So thank you, Tracy. So how can we all remain positive and continue to move forward in the face of personal inner and outer challenges that are part of the human condition?
So I was thinking about positivity, and there's a scientific definition of it that just means the presence of something. And I really like that definition because that goes along with my view of, being open to things, being open to what is. So it's a perspective that allows us to be with whatever is here, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, wanted or unwanted. And so we can see each experience as an opportunity for learning rather than being constricted or closed off or defensive. And if we're compassionate with ourselves and we can trust and experiment with things, then we build confidence and we're better able to be truly present. So I think positivity really is being open to the presence of things.
Yes. And you're saying no matter what the situation is, you can look at it in a way that you know it's going to be for your growth. And so you don't make a judgment, is this positive or is this negative? It's just there for actually there's some goodness in it, and that it's going to help us.
And also I think that it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah. And so since we're here anyway and it's happening, can we be open to it?
Right. And I think of it, I think a lot of people, and myself too, can get blocked when you have these ideas that, is this going to turn out positive? This is going to turn out bad. Should I take this risk? What will happen? Will people mock me? All these different things. And instead, just it makes a person more brave and courageous to just go out there and get used to being open to these experiences. Would you agree?
I do. And I think what people discover is that things are much more workable than they anticipate. Even very, very difficult or unwanted circumstances can be surprisingly workable. An example I give is, something that many, 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 many women do and have done throughout the ages, which is give birth. It's a very, very difficult undertaking. Or even death, right? Death can be a very challenging form of labor in a way. And these are things that people have been doing throughout the ages. These are things that people have been facing throughout the ages. And they're a part of the larger cycle of things.
So it's kind of having the faith that everything will turn out the way it's supposed to, and just having acceptance for this existence is what you're kind of saying.
Yeah. And that allows us to make wiser choices, to accept things the way they are, rather than making things worse by fighting against things that we don't have any control over.
Right. And it also seems that would make life just much more enjoyable.
At least more peaceful, maybe.
Yeah, peaceful. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I just greatly appreciate you being here today. And I just wondered, Tracy, if there are any last thoughts that you can leave with us.
Yes. So my wish for us all is that we could cultivate a sense of openness, curiosity, wonder, and make a still, quiet space for exploration and contemplation in our lives. And then this way we might be more likely to see things as they truly are and set intentions that are helpful in the world.
And Tracy, may I ask you, do you set certain times of the day, or do you kind of like play it by ear and judge when it's best for you to take some time off in between your schedule, of course?
I take time every day, and actually I take a couple of hours every day to meditate and practice yoga. I think that if we're not intentional about that, it's so easy to let life push that out of our schedules.
Oh, that's wonderful. You get your exercise too.
That's right. That's right.
At the same time.
Kill two birds with one stone, right?
Absolutely. So, but it's funny because in the long run, you're able to function all the better for doing that. And you know exactly, you have more clarity with what your intent is and what you're doing, and you can probably move more smoothly in the long run.
Yes, that time for practice, that formal practice, it's like a little laboratory that prepares us for being able to use that stillness, that equanimity, even when things are difficult in our daily lives.
Right. And for people who don't practice yoga, they also can take the time maybe when they're walking, maybe when they're just sitting somewhere in a relaxed place, let's say outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
It can be what anyone likes to do, but they can take that time.
It can even be brushing your teeth or doing the dishes.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, it could be anything as long as you're doing it with presence and mindfulness.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Tracy, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
People can reach me through either my private practice website, which is mindfulkc.com, or through the Midwest Alliance for Mindfulness website, which is mindfulness-alliance.org.
Okay. And could you spell mindfulnesskc.com, that first one you said?
Mm-hmm. It's mindfulkc.com.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for all your wonderful insights and tips. And it was a wonderful learning experience for me and hopefully to all that are listening now. And wishing you success with all that you do to help other people. It's a beautiful, meaningful life. May it continue in good health.
Thank you for this opportunity, Leah. It was good to be with you today.
Likewise, thank you again. And thank you to all of you who have joined us. God willing, until we meet again, wishing you health, happiness, success, and blessings.